Fellow Ghanaians, good evening and thank you very much for joining us on Upfront on the Joy News channel. It's the 24th day of August 2023. What that means is that in less than 48 hours, the NPP would know who makes the shortlist for the November 4 Congress. Who, out of the 10, makes it into the 5 to battle it all out for who leads the NPP into the 2024 general elections. Already, there's been lots of campaign. All the 10 candidates have been campaigning, telling the special delegates, if I could put it that way, or maybe you would say super delegates, some 950 of them, to vote for them to ensure that come Saturday, by this time, they will be part of the top 5. For many, it's a 2-horse race, maybe 3, and they have said you have some 7 candidates having to fight for the remaining 2 spots. Is it a case of who gets to win? Or what is most important is who makes the cut? For some, the most important thing is who makes the cut. And I'm sure you may have seen that video by Kojo energy analyst, who's also vying to become the NPP's flag bearer, saying, why are people talking about winners here? The most important thing is making it to the top 5. Yesterday, we had a conversation with a member of the campaign team of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Today, we'll be having a conversation with a spokesperson of the Alan Kyerematen campaign, a deputy spokesperson of the Alan Kyerematen campaign. Our questions very, very simple. We want to understand how the campaign has been so far. What has been the message? How are the delegates receiving that message? And what are their own expectations? What do they make of the suggestion that one candidate, other than their candidate, is going to make between some 60 to 70%? And that their candidate has adopted a defeatist approach by indicating, for instance, that there's an establishment candidate. My name is Winston Amoah, and this is Upfront on the Joy News channel. When I return after these messages, I'll introduce my guest, and then the conversations will begin. Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel. And tonight we're joined by Catherine Afeku, who's Deputy Spokesperson of the Alan Kyerematen campaign. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Winston. It's always good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too. Hope everything is well on your campaign front?
Oh, yes. Everything is going well by the grace of God. Yes.
There's been a lot of talk about, who wins this. And in my introduction, I was talking about one of the candidates, one of the contenders or aspirants, for instance, Kojo making the point, it doesn't really matter what you get. The most important thing is getting into the top 5. Are you of that view too?
Winston, first we have to say a very good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. It is indeed true. And if you've been through the election cycle, this exercise on the 26th of August is purely administrative. It's actually as a result of what we encountered in 2007. We had 17 aspirants, and that informed the party by amending the constitution, Article 12B, that states that if there are more than 5 people, we go for a special congress to trim or prune and get 5. So the essence really of that exercise on Saturday is to ensure that your candidate with his message becomes part of the 5. That's it. The real election is on the 4th of November, where 200,000 plus delegates will go and select a candidate who will become the flag bearer for the NPP and in turn become the presidential hopeful for the party. So Saturday is not the end in itself of the process. It is just the beginning of a pruning and a trimming exercise. So it will be a bit premature to start jubilating if you are the first or the second or the third in the 5 that makes the selection. The most critical thing is to be part of the 5. There are people saying 70, 80. It's not here or there. The real percentage has to be from November 4th. If you get 80% on November 4th, then you are surely going to be at the Jubilee House on the 7th of January 2025.
But momentum is key in politics, and so some say this presents an opportunity to actually send a signal. And so if somebody is able to get, say, 60% of the vote, 70% of the vote, that is sending a signal that this is the person that the party wants.
Winston, you know, we've been around, and this time it's a 3-horse race. So it's going to be very difficult for any of the contenders to get anything above 60. And that's just from experience. You will see it as it pans out on Saturday, unless there is a voter intimidation. But the party has assured us that none of those issues that will precipitate or allow or enable voter intimidation will happen. You have contenders who are very, very strong, and they have serious followers. Alan Kyerematen, Kennedy Japan, Dr. Bawumia. These are the top 3. And 951 people are voting, 0.004 of the entire delegates who will vote on November 4th. So it's just a minuscule of the people who will vote. So if you get 60%, I'll be surprised if one person can marshal 60% or more from this 3-horse race. So for us, from Alan's team, we're not looking at percentages. We're looking at being part of the 5, and he will surely be part of the 5. Our focus is November 4th. Making 80%, 90%, 70% for November 4th is the real message to the people of Ghana.
Oh, that's what your team wants?
No, that's what we need. I mean, November 4th is the election. Saturday is not an election.
Sure.
It's a pruning exercise.
But are you looking forward to winning between 70 to 90% on November 4th?
For November 4th. Oh, yes. Definitely. Oh, definitely. It is very, 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 very plausible. Yes.
How do you come by that?
Because of what we have been through. We've been through all the 16 regions. We have met the constituents, the regional leaders, the clergy, the Muslim community, the market women, student groups, and now we started with our polling station cluster innovative meetings. And you see the exuberance and the memories of people who have seen Chief Alan from 206, from 205. So they know he has been through the mill, and he has a track record. He has been very consistent. Jobs for the people, cash for the people, jobs for the people. He has not wavered, he has not changed. And NPP as a party, Winston, we thrive on traditions. We thrive on a culture of yenim wufritete. You have been through the mill, you have served, you have been loyal, you have been there from the formation to a certain level, and then they reward you. Let's use our own president. Our president was the first organizer of this great party. Our president contested in 1998, 2007, 2010, 2014 is where we had the biggest break, and he sailed through. So people look at that. There is a culture of sympathy in the NPP tradition. Oh, you've been through it. You have spent. You have gone through the country. You have met people. And they tell you to your face that, look, we will give it to you. And you don't underestimate the voices.
You trust delegates?
I do. Because they make us who we are. I do. The 951 is a minuscule. They will go and do the exercise of pruning. The percentages of Saturday is not as significant as the percentages to Ghana on the 4th of November. And we need to make that clarification.
I would come into your message and all, but talking about clarification, you've talked about Akufo-Addo. Look, in 2014, in the Special Delegates Congress, he got a huge margin. He got about over 80% of the votes. Eventually, he won by some 94%.
Exactly.
Your candidate got about 9 something percent of the votes. At the end of the day, he got about 4% in the main election. So that's the situation in front of us.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because President Akufo-Addo had been through the mill. And when the party tells you it's your turn, no amount of intimidation, coercion, English will change it. President Akufo-Addo, as I give you the precedents from 98, 2007, 2010. So 2014 was a make or break. So it is the psyche of the delegates. They tend to gravitate towards the one who has been through the mill. Alan Kyerematen, 2007, 2010, 2014. So the 4th time round will be 2023. And the delegates en masse, we meet them. It is not a script. We go to them. We meet them in the churches. We meet them in the markets. We meet them at the constituency derbys. And they tell you without any fear or favor that, look, it is your turn. Because we told you in 2007 to wait till President Akufo-Addo has had his turn at the presidency. In 2010, we told you to wait, and we told you again in 2014. So now that our excellency is about to finish his tenure, naturally you are the one, we will give you our vote. And this is not rehearsed. It's from the voices of the 210,000 people. They say it.
Now, there are those who have made the point that, look, here you are with people who are actually, if we could put it that way, the big wigs in the party. You have constituency chairmen who have been voted for by the delegates that you're talking about. You have members of parliament who themselves, were elected by these persons before they contested the main election. So these are people, and you have some of them, majority of them. You've had the majority chief whip saying about more than 100 of them, if I did put it at 120 of them, supporting, in this case, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. The argument is that if these persons control the delegates, control the polling station executive, where they ask them to look, like we'd say, how they ask them to vote is how they are going to vote. So it's a done deal in the election.
Are you sure, Winston?
That's what they took.
The immediate past national executive elections, it should be by any indication, those who lost were the ones who were being touted and endorsed by regional executives all across. But in the perception that we need to correct, delegates are not going to be pushed or coerced by leaders. I've been a member of parliament for 8 years. You can't go down and tell 600, 700 people that because I like blue, all of you en masse should follow me to do blue. No, they have a choice. They have reasoning and they have sensibilities. That is the beauty of democracy, Winston. So this perception worked for President Akufo-Addo because he had been through the mill. He was in the trenches in 98. He went through it in 2007. He struggled through it in 2010. And in 2014, the party, en masse, we all said, it is time. You deserve it. You have served. Crown you with the glory. It's the same trajectory for our candidate, Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. He has been through the mill. 2007, he was there. 2010 he was there, 2014 was there. They will crown him with victory 2023. So it is not about 120, 100. These figures, don't praise my friend, but you have to do your own sampling and speak to the MP. What about the MPs following Alan around the country?
How many of them are following?
Well, it doesn't matter the number, but if you say majority of the MPs are following, even if one is following, it makes that statement not truthful. So all we are trying to say is
137 MPs.
Exactly.
And then you have, so if it says
there are
majority,
silent followers, by the way, Winston. There are silent followers.
I'm interested in the silent followers.
And you wouldn't know them till Saturday.
I am interested in the silent followers.
There are silent followers.
What is it that you know that convinces you? Donald Trump had talked about a silent majority.
Yes.
Eventually he won the election. But what is it that you know that convinces you that there's a silent following for Alan Kyerematen?
It's the phone calls we get after our tours. We are speaking from experience. We have the silent majority. And, in elections, it's always good to be measured in your statements and your utterances. The vote is November 4th. August 26th is an administrative exercise. Article 12B mandates the party, the election committee, to ensure that it is trimmed to 5. Make sure your candidate is part of the 5. That's it. November 4th is the focus. There are silent majorities. I will predict that it will be difficult for a clear winner on Saturday because it's a 3-horse race. You have 3 top contenders. All the rest will also get votes. So they will be splitting the 951. And it's election. It's for everyone's take. But the focus is not August 26th, who emerges with the highest percentage of a 0.004. It is the 210,000 Winston on November 4th who will make the decision to elect a flag bearer who is likely to take us through to compete with President Mahama. That is the focus.
Does that mean that for you?
Not the 951.
Does that mean that for you, it doesn't matter even if you place 5th? The most important thing.
Be part of the 5.
Of the 5.
I know Allah will not place 5th. But be part of the 5. That should be the focus. We shouldn't misconstrue being number 1 with a 0.004 pool of voters. No, the focus is the grassroots, the 210,000 people from the length and breadth of this nation who will clearly speak with one voice out of the 5 and pick the one who's most marketable, a unifier with a message that's credible and who has been through the mill. And it's so easy. Someone who can maximize votes from the stronghold of this party and eat into the stronghold of the minority now. That is the candidate we are all looking for, and that is Alan Kyerematen.
Let's get into your message and how the delegates are receiving your message. What's been your message to the delegates?
The message of Alan Kyerematen is a 5-point message. He started with a great transformational plan. He already came out with a blueprint, and he's very emphatic that, look, this country, we have been through IMF 17 times. It is not the wish of anyone to be there. So the next person to lead this nation should have a strategy, a plan that takes us out. And it is in the great transformational plan. That goes down very well. Number 2, you need to select a candidate who can maximize the votes in your stronghold. Our stronghold is Ashanti region, and our not so stronghold is the Volta region. Maximize the votes from your stronghold, and then eat into the stronghold of your
But you've seen
opposition.
an improvement in the Volta region over the last elections.
Yes.
Yeah, so
And you have also clearly seen the NDC making inroads in the stronghold of the party.
So, and that's why I'm starting from the Volta region. So you're making inroads into your opponent's stronghold. Your opponent's also making inroads into your stronghold. So I'm asking you on that score about making inroads into your opponent's stronghold.
Yes.
The party over the last 3-4 elections has been making inroads. In fact, right from the tenure of Kufuor, it's been making inroads in the Volta region. So what do you think is Alan Kyerematen?
You need someone who can maximize it. We were there in Volta. We walked in the whole market. We met the chiefs. We met the clergy. We met the mosque. We met the students. And you feel the exuberance of the people who typically are not enthused with NPP. And they say it. It was on radio. It was in the marketplace that if you bring Alan Kyerematen, the vote will change in this place. So it's an emphatic statement. Yes, we're making inroads, but you want to maximize it. And Alan comes across as someone that the Volta caucus, the Volta region and OT, they love him. It's just something you can't take away from him. The statistics are there. You can check with EC. In 2007 at Legon, he won a lot from the Volta block. In 2007, he won a lot from the Western region. There's someone who can bring in the floating regions. NPP, the stronghold is Ashanti region, Eastern region. And when these two regions maximizes, you pick the rest of the votes and you join. So you are going to have to pick a candidate in a tight election like 2024 who can maximize votes from across the length and breadth of the nation. And that is the selling point. He's the most marketable. He's been there. He's a face and a brand that you cannot tell me that people find it difficult to remember. Alan Cash for the people, jobs for the people. Even children identify with that brand. So he's got a marketable quality that you can't take away from him. And number 3, he also talks about a vision for the grassroots. You need somebody who's going to carry the grassroots along. And what resonates is, look, we can secure payroll for you, not from government coffers, not welfare, but with innovation. If we can come up with PSI, we can come up with 1D1F, we can come up with industries that can also bring you out of poverty. We are Ghanaians. Delegates are citizens. They live in the communities. They need jobs. And for the past 16 years, Alan's manifesto is jobs for the people, cash for the people. And it sits well with the delegates. This is a message that is simple, it is easy to swallow, and it is easy to implement. So we are very confident that, after this cutting and pruning exercise, we are focused on November 4th.
Talking about that one, I know your party not so long ago in 2018 there were conversations about buses for every constituency. That is not the reality. So somebody would ask, how sure are you? How sure are the party delegates that this may not just be one of the things that they saw in 2018?
Well, it's unfortunate that incident happened, but that was not a presidential race. That was internal.
But that was internal chairmanship race.
Exactly.
It didn't materialize.
Unfortunately, that is something that I cannot hold brief for. But for me, I speak for Alan Kyerematen, and his track record tells you that he's not the kind of candidate or person or personality who just speaks anyhow. He said he was going to bring 1D, 1F. It is out there. Yes, you can see some of the challenges, TV, with everything that we do in the world. I mean, you have to go through some process. But he has provided evidence that he can do that. This is the very same gentleman that when he was the ambassador in the USA, Cosmos that you see bringing and drilling the oil, it was through his tenure and his lobbying. So N1, George Bush, MCA, Millennium Challenge account, all these innovative ideas are some of the handwriting that through his opportunity under President Kufuor, he brought it. And under President Akufo-Addo, the signature is one district, one factory, and it's still going on. The after building, the lobbying, I was in cabinet with them. I saw how it was divided up. He went through Kenya, Egypt, with Asafo Mafo and the rest, lobbying intensely, all to the glory of the party and of course our president. But you cannot take that away from him. He was part of the inception and the securing of the headquarters in this country. This is the gentleman who has this track record, and he's saying, look, I can create the industries and the jobs for the teeming masses, and especially ring fence and focus on our delegates, our polling station executives who have toiled and sacrificed since 92. They deserve to also have some kind of reward and walk with their chest out that we are party followers and we have something to look forward to.
So if I get you,
it's not difficult.
He's promising the establishment of businesses for the party.
Exactly, and it is done across this world. I mean, you are a citizen of Ghana. You happen to be an affiliate of a media house, and if you want to set up a factory, I think you can be helped to do that, and you employ people. So why can't that be done for a party member? Why not? There are no rules against party people owning their own businesses or having financial independence. So, and this is the gentleman who, over the years, from Empretech, YEF, setting up and helping people set up businesses, he has a track record. So what he says he will do, you see it in the Great Transformational Plan, you see it in his PSI era, you see it in the 1D, 1F, and you see it in his longevity, even working for Unilever, before Unilever was called UAC. So he's a businessman. So he understands, but he's a very poised, very focused, an astute lawyer, an economist. And when things get tough, you need cool heads. You need people who are very focused, poised to get us through the next hurdle. And I can assure you, the masses, the people on the ground, 14 million plus people will vote, not 950. This is an exercise. 210 will vote on November 4th. But come December 7th, Ghana will decide. And you need a candidate who's most marketable, who cuts across, who can win NPP the election, not an administrative exercise. So we are focused on November 4th.
That's point 3. What is the fourth point?
I gave you 3. The fourth one is he's a unifier. You need someone who can unify the party. This is a gentleman, Winston, you can witness. You have not heard anything untoward about Alan. I'll give you a typical example. We went to Asin North for the by-election. You saw the skirmishes, how he was disrespected. He didn't overreact.
How was he disrespected?
He was on the stage speaking, and then he had others, bamboozle and take the microphone from him that others are coming onto the stage. He was very calm.
As in the vice president was coming onto the stage?
He was very calm.
That's the video you're making reference to?
Yes, he was very calm, very poised. He did not overreact. And right after that whole shenanigan, he went back and focused on speaking. That's a mark of a leader. That's a kind of person you want to put Ghana in their hands. Because when it gets tough or it gets rough, he's cool. He's very steady, and he will be focused on the target. That was delivering a message. For me, I've been in this for 20 years. I've seen different leadership styles. And I think at this juncture, Ghana needs Alan Kyerematen to take us after Excellency Akufo-Addo. So I'm very confident.
Before we go to the fifth point, and then we'll get to how the delegates are receiving, we'll ask other questions. But talking about what happened in Asin North, you say people did a lot of things.
You saw it, it's on video. It's not me saying it, it's on video.
You have made reference to it. So I am now quoting you.
Yes.
I'm now quoting you. So you have made reference to it. Is it your
view? And they apologized after that.
Is it your view that some people within the party are scheming against your candidate? Is it your view that the party has an establishment candidate of which whom is not your candidate and is another candidate, and thus they are scheming against your candidate?
I wouldn't go as far as speculation. I heard and listened to our president. He said he will not foist a candidate on the delegate. So I've worked with President Akufo-Addo, so I don't buy into speculations. I'm not of that nature. What I see is what I believe. I just know that Alan Kyerematen is the better poised to lead after Akufo-Addo. Those things that happened in Asin North, like I told you, even those who orchestrated that have apologized. So I don't want to go into the speculation. I gave you an example of how composed he was as a leader. He didn't overreact. He didn't buy into the thing to lose focus. And that is a mark of a leader. And that was the example I wanted
Talking
to give
about the Akufo-Addo statement, well, I mean, you have made your point, but
I heard it.
Were you expecting him to say anything different apart from that?
No, he's the leader of the party.
Yeah, but
and he assured the
my
base.
point is that, were you expecting anything different?
I wasn't expecting anything. That's exactly what I was expecting, that he will assure the base that he's in the middle and he will not foist a candidate on anyone. That's what he said. Even went as far as saying no one is going to be intimidated. Vote for who you want.
Do you expect him to admit if he's supporting any candidate?
I don't expect him to support any candidate because I've known him the time that I spent from 2002 that I've known His Excellency. So I believe that when he says what he says, that he's not foisting any candidate on anyone. It is also even a breath of fresh air for the delegates to go out there and vote with a clean conscience. Vote who you prefer, not who someone is telling you to vote for, or someone is coercing you or bamboozling you to do with inducements. No, vote with your conscience. Vote for the one who can better help Ghana. But think of the elections ahead of us, not the 950 endorsement. It's November 4th and it's December 7th. And with all humility, the man better poised to lead right after President Akufo-Addo is no other than Alan Kyerematen.
The president says he knows the one who's going to help the NPP win the election, and he is going to vote for that person. Is it your view?
That's his secret. That's his secret, and I can't.
No, so I'm not coming. So the president says he knows who amongst the 10 can actually win the election for the NPP, and that's the person he is going to vote for.
Yes.
So clearly the president has a favorite. Well,
he didn't mention any names, so you can't go beyond that. He knows, and I know too. I know that it's Alan. I can say it because I'm not, a referee. So I can say it because I speak for him as his deputy spokesperson. But the president has a vote, and he has already made that pronouncement. So I don't want to turn my campaign about the president. Sure. My campaign is about Alan Kyerematen and his attributes and his readiness, his astuteness, and his poise for leadership. And he's been through it. He's worked under Akufo, he's worked under Akufo-Addo, and he's ready.
We know that he's ready. Let's look at the final point. You've talked about him being a unifier.
He's most marketable, and he can bring votes from the stronghold.
He's got the businesses and the great transformational plan.
Yes.
What else?
And the final one, he's the one who can bring 2 million votes from the Ashanti region. 2 million. NPP, the oxygen we breathe, and you can't mince it. NDC says it without any excuse. Volta is their World Bank. NPP, our World Bank, is the Ashanti.
The NDC had more votes in the Ashanti region than the Volta region.
And the reason is they are making inroads. So we got 1.7900 million, 1,790,000+ from a region. Alan presents himself as the candidate best poised to cross the 2 million mark in Ashanti region. And when we get 2 million votes in the bag, the election is over. So you need to focus and center the candidature around someone who can maximize your votes in your stronghold and eat into the stronghold of the NDC. That is the winning formula. And when he says that and tells that to the delegates, it resonates, it sits well. It's not complicated. That is our winning formula. It is no secret. We don't even have to hide it from the NDC. They know. There is no way under the sun that the NDC can garner 1 million votes in Ashanti. It won't happen. Just like we will not be able to get 1 million in Volta. It's just the numbers, everybody knows. But NPP, with our candidate who's got the affinity in Ashanti region, can get us the 2 million. If you get 2 million from one region, you have 15 other regions to mop up. And of course, the second best region for NPP is Eastern region, and the wife comes from Eastern region, so that whole Akunta syndrome will work in Eastern region. So I'm telling you, he's also got family relations in Central region, Western and Central. He's always won in Central and Western throughout the other contests. So you're already bagging 4 regions. We went to Bono region with him, and the chief said, your lineage also comes from Bono. The people in Patasi, they migrated from here. So we also claim you. We've got 5 regions backed. That is the candidate we are pushing and asking in humility that the delegates give him a chance, because he has been through the mill. He has been through the mill. He has served, and he has the qualities and the wherewithal to step into the shoes of President Akufo-Addo after the tenure.
He's performed well in the Western and Central regions in the other elections. I mean, I don't know of the 2007 one, but from 2010 to 2014.
You were there. You were with me in the region.
Yes, so I know he's performed well, but he didn't win the region in total, but he performed well in those.
So he's already got the track record.
Yes, so that I know, but no, he didn't win the region. So these are the 5 pointers that he's been campaigning on.
Yes.
How are the delegates receiving the message?
They eat it with enthusiasm. You should see the video. See, everything we do is Facebook Live. We don't pre-record. As soon as he walks in, he sits. We do the introduction.
Who has been recording?
No, we do Facebook Live.
Okay.
You know, we have 10 contenders. I don't know their style. I'm telling you that we do.
When you say
Facebook
you don't
Live.
record, it's like someone is recording.
No, I don't say someone. I say we don't record. We do Facebook Live. So it is not after the fact and you edit and you send. Maybe others do that. I don't know. I'm saying the difference between us is we do Facebook Live. So as he stands and to speak, it is recorded. And everything he does is out there in the public domain. And the enthusiasm and the endorsement that comes from the guts of the delegates, I can assure you, November 4th, we will be jubilating in Ghana. NPP will jubilate because the NDC will be no match. This is a gentleman who can back 5 regions even before we whistle go. That is the candidate we are selling. And he doesn't have a lot of blemish. Politics comes with blemishes and scandals. It's difficult. I didn't say that. It is Sami Jenfi who said it, that it is difficult to find issues with. So there are 10 contenders. I'm selling my candidate. He's blemish free and he can win us a 3rd term. He's the right recipe to break the 8, Winston. I feel it. I know it. A majority also do. I can assure you.
My guest this evening is Deputy Spokesperson of the Alan Kyerematen campaign, Catherine Afeku. She's telling us how the campaign is going, and she says that she can feel it, that her candidate is going to win on November 4. She's talked about the fact that she knows the candidate will make the top 5. For her, this is just 0.004 of the total votes of November 4 voting. And so that's really insignificant. The most important thing is making the top 5. But talking about a man without blemish also, your party, this government, struggling. So he is going to be campaigning based on the achievements of a struggling party, a struggling government, isn't it?
Winston, if you say that, I totally disagree.
Okay.
I totally disagree. The New Patriotic Party is not struggling. This is a party, you heard the midterm year review budget by Ken Oforiatta. You heard our own president. This is a government that has achieved more against all odds with COVID, with the world crisis, that everybody, we as a party, we admit, yes, there have been challenges because it's not been rosy, but no, we are not going to say that it's all throwing up our arms in air, because we have performed much better than all the areas of NDC, even with the crisis. So yes, there must be the level where you accept, yes, there are feeding problems, yes, we've had challenges, the DDPs, the bondholders. These are real challenges that you can't sweep under the carpet.
These are real challenges that have never been experienced in this country.
Exactly, and there's always a time for something new.
If your party gets people to lose their interest, if your party gets, and technically speaking, people have lost their savings, okay, because you went, 1 minute, I'm just making a point that, since you're talking about all of these things, there are those who say, well, despite all the things you say, the NPP really has a difficult job, because the government on whose record you're going to be campaigning, Mr. Kyerematen would campaign on Akufo-Addo's record, wouldn't he?
Yes, and the difference is very clear.
Which is?
The difference is the person you're presenting in the midst of the difficulties. That is the winning formula. If you're going to present the same challenges with the same people, it will be difficult for the voters to make a decision for NPP. That's why he keeps saying it's going to be a very difficult election. So our best bet is the messenger. The person who, when you walk into Whole Market, the women will jubilate and say, we don't like NPP, but because of you, we will give you the third chance. It is the messenger, because it will be a difficult message to sell. And you have to admit, as a party leader, as a party contester, so it is not rosy, but You choose a leader who can cut through it, who can defy the odds with his personality, his credibility, his character, and make sure that we break the age, because NPP, even with our challenges, is 100 times better than the NDC. What else is Mahama going to bring that he hasn't done in this country? This is the only person who has been a president before who's coming again. And that also has never happened in the country, by the way. So the challenges we face are surmountable. But representing a former president is something new. And we also have to kind of find a way around it. So it is based on your messenger, the person you're going to present come December. That is why it's important that we don't over-embellish who gets what on the 26th of August, but rather who gets what, an emphatic message on November 4th, that the people, the representation, the delegates who have been sent by their constituents will send that message that Ghana is ready to give Alan a chance to turn things around.
How do you respond to those who say, oh, Alan Kyerematen, after every election cycle, after every presidential congress, we don't see him. He comes around just to campaign a little bit in the heat of the general elections, and that's the end of it. He comes only when he wants to be flag bearer. Okay,
now did you see Akoto in any of these from 2007 to date? Have you seen Kojo Safwa or Apreku? Why are you victimizing one person who in Sekendi, and I was there, the president himself vouching for Alan Kyerematen, that I want to single you out because every time we do campaign, you are the one who goes around the entire country with me. It's difficult to find things to say about Alan Kyerematen. When they have elections, those who are willing to stand in the gap, they show. The 10 people, tell me, where was the last time you saw Adainimo running around the country after election? Why not target him? Why Alan? It is because he has a message and he's cutting through. He's cutting through the everyday mumbo jumbo and letting people know that he's best poised to lead. When we finish elections, people travel. He was in Ethiopia working. The VIP was in Zimbabwe working. I went back to Kenya working. So is that an albatross? No. When the party is in the election season, he's here. And the president vouched for him in Sekendi. When we were doing campaign for Joe Mensah, I was there. And it's on record. They said, I want to single out one person who's always traveled the length and breadth of the nation with me. That in itself is an endorsement. So Winston, those utterances are not here or there. Alan has served. He has paid his dues, and the delegates are going to reward him because they say it. Come November 4th. He's the grassroots leader, and he will make sure that the legacy of President Akufo-Addo is intact, and he will build upon it. He will build upon it. He has absolutely no doubt. He has confidence in the delegates, God and the delegates, and he will get through by the grace of God. He will get through.
You're sure about that? That by
it is grace, and I believe in the blood that was shed on Calvary. He will get through. We believe in the God we serve. He will get through.
You're not scared of all the endorsements of some of these candidates by people who are in government, your members of parliament, your ministers and MMDCEs and all those who are endorsing people.
Winston, put the number together. We just did. It's 0.004. And then you have 210,000. The word scared, fear, paranoia, it is all part of our tradition. Why should I be scared when I have the same thumb as the next person? Why? I have been in parliament before. So what would a colleague parliamentarian tell me to scare me? It is a right I'm going to exercise. The polling station executive are discerning. They know what they want. So it's not the MP or the minister or the MC or whatever they say that will change the minds of the people on the ground. We should give them the modicum of respect. The polling stations people have been carrying the party throughout ages, and they know what they want. So it is not the plethora of endorsements that will sway anybody. They have decided. They reward loyalty, long service, and those who have been in the trenches. And that's
talking about long service. Kofi Apreku says
yes,
he's been there. He was there in 1998.
That's why he's in the contest. Let him be part of the five, and he will sell himself. I haven't heard his message, in fairness, because I haven't listened. But yes,
I'm telling you, he says when it comes to there. He says when it comes to
tenure.
Those who's been there.
I don't disagree. So
he was there in 1998.
Exactly.
He placed third. He was there in 2007.
Exactly.
In 2000 and
so let him make the cut. Let him make the cut. See, that's why you've made a great point. Let Kunedu Apreku make the cut of the 5 and we go out for the contest. That is a very poignant question. Kennedy was there, Kwabena Japan was there, Jacko was there, Alan was there, and the rest is your guess as good as mine. So let those who can cut, let them cut the 5. And then you see those who make the 5 is where we'll do the analysis. That is why I don't want to place too much emphasis on 951 people exercising a right to prune 10 people. It is not the election. The election is November 4th. Winston, and I can assure you, majority of the grassroots people are clamoring for Alan Kyerematen. They told him in 2007, wait, Akufo-Addo has to be president before you. They told him in 2010, wait, president has to be there before you. They told him in 2014. Now when we go, we've been to all the regions, as I reiterated. They tell him, okay, now it's your turn. Come December, our big brother will be retiring, and then we'll give it to you as we had promised. They will go through the exercise, all right, they will vote, but they will reward long service, loyalty, and stick-to-itiveness in the tradition.
Some of these delegates have changed. I mean, the polling station you talk about, they've changed.
Oh, yes. But they know. They know. You put all of them and ask who is best poised, and they'll tell you. We don't want to speculate. Ask them, do random sampling, and they'll tell you.
Talking about influence of the super delegates, I'm going to do something. Because I remember one of the things you said years ago, when you had tried so hard to get someone from Jura as your chairman. You said you have the influence, and that's why you decided to get a Jura chairman to be able to help your electoral fortunes. That was after you had lost the 2012 election, and you were coming back in 2016, which you won. True or false?
But that is not a presidential candidate.
I've just asked a simple question first.
Yes, the question was, why did the dynamics, and I'm so happy you have the recollection. People tend to forget. My chairman was a chief.
Yes.
And we had to sit and reorganize ourselves and see why is it that NPP struggles in the Nzima region. And the reason was because that particular constituency, the other two constituencies were always NDC, CPP, has Evalue, Ajomoro, and Jura, 3 different ethnic groups.
Yes.
And it had always been one side. So all the chairmen since 92 had come from Evalue. So I sat down and I looked at the picture. I said, no, we need to. So as we speak, we have 6 constituency executives that I intentionally made sure they were elected and appointed from, so it balances, because the capital is Evalue. And majority of the NPP votes, out of 25 electoral area, 15 is in Evalue. We only have 8 electoral areas in Jura, and we lose 6 since 92. NPP has never won in 6 electoral areas, and it will not win. It will take a miracle. Just like because of the settler communities, we have more settlers in the Jura. So it defies logic to pick a parliamentary candidate from Jura, because you will not win. The NDC will just swim through. But to appease and to balance the power, you take the chairman from that place so he can work and get the little vote we can get to support Evalue. Ajomoro, we've always won. 2 electoral areas, we always win. We always win. So you see, you have to be very tactical in placing candidature and placing positions. So the power base is Evalue. The votes, 59 polling stations is in Evalue. And you have 50 in Jura, and you have 9 in Ajomoro. But we don't win in Jura. We only win in 2 Ajomoro. Jura 6.
If you could use your influence in getting all of these things to happen.
No, I didn't use my influence. We went and sought audience with the chief who had to abdicate and now become a chairman.
Yes.
Well, now he is the chairman because he was elected.
Yes.
But I have one constituency, and we're talking about a presidential candidate who has the entire nation. So if you say an MP is going to ask his whole town to vote for one candidate out of 10, that would be very difficult. The analogy is different. I didn't ask the chairman to come and vote for me. We went and sought his opinion to become a chairman to balance the power. Okay. Because you needed a Jura person to be chair. We can't take a candidate from Jura because it's an NDC stronghold.
We have to be wrapping up, and in wrapping up the conversation, what's your assessment of the process so far? I mean, the whole election processes, right from the delegates list and everything. What's your assessment of it?
Today, coincidentally, we had a press release. So far, so good. We've raised some poignant questions. It has been responded to our satisfaction. The election and the whole process is just beginning. We do the first Article 12B requirement. We get the 5, we prune it, and then we go to November 4th. So we'll be watching. I mean, you can't applaud anyone in the elections committee yet. Let's see how it pans out on Saturday. There will be no violence, there will be no phone taking, there will be any and every of the anomalies has already been listed. That if you do, even if you take a photo and you're found, your vote will not be counted. So I think they've put all the measures in place. Let's wait for the implementation and then we can applaud them. But so far, I would say they have presented a good front, that they are not biased, they are not intimidating anybody, and they are ensuring fairness, transparency, and at the end of the day, the exercise will be clear that only 5 people who deserve to be part will be there. And then we can, start the actual campaign.
Oh, you've not started the actual campaign?
We need the 5. I mean, right now we're just
gone around all the constituencies.
I'm talking about when it's trimmed down, then you can start the actual campaign. I mean, now we're doing the campaign, but it's like, you are teething and selling yourself. But when it's down to 5, it's down to the wire. That's when the real men ready to take Ghana to the next level will emerge. You see it. I told you from the beginning, and I don't mince words, it's a 3-horse race. Alan, Ken, Baumia. And out of these 3, any of them could easily clinch the victory. But I have every confidence, every ounce of belief that it will be Alan Kyerematen.
Are you talking to some of the other aspirants? About
1 or 2 I've spoken to. Oh, no, that's not my level.
Yeah, but 1 or 2 you've spoken to.
Yeah, just to say hello, because we're friends. We were friends before, this contest. So we are not enemies. I mean, those I have relationships with, I call and I say hello, how is it going? We're in the same fraternity. The fact that I speak for Alan does not make me an enemy to any of the rest. Kennedy is a very good friend. When he came to my constituency, I was there. I wanted to be part of Veep's visit, but the organizers and my constituency people sent out messages that they will embarrass me. So I didn't show. But I made sure I told Cabo. Oh, yes, and it's very petty and childish. But I would have loved to be there. It was on a platform that was my youth organizer wrote that if I show up, they will mafia. I said, these are kids. So it would be best to just sit back and be the matured politician that I am. But I made sure I sent the message to Cabo because we're friends. We campaigned for 10 months for our president throughout the nation. So these things, we've done it before. So it's best to kind of keep your cool. When Kennedy was coming to that, they invited me. And I went. And I spoke. And I made sure I entrusted my executives that use your own conscience. Use your own decision-making channels. And choose the best that will be for Ghana. Not just NPP. We are not focusing on flag bearer. We want a president. And you sit back. If I was given that opportunity, I'd have said the same thing. But for some young guy who's a bit exuberant, so I chose to stay back. Alan will be coming, and I'll be there, and I will speak with so much enthusiasm.
And ask your people to vote for him.
Just like I did for all of them. If I'm allowed to speak, like I did for Kennedy, I will speak, and I will say it with every energy in me. You know how we do it in the West.
Well, Catherine Afeku, thank you very much. Before you go, I'll give you the final word. Anything you want to say finally to your party's delegates as you go for the conference on the 26th of August?
I wish all the contenders well. We know that we only need 5. That does not make them redundant. They should be roped in quickly to support the campaign. And I also wish to appeal to the 951 special delegates that the president has assured us do not be intimidated, do not be coerced. Use your own conscience and pick the one that's best to be part of the 5 to lead our party to victory. And I wish them all well.
Thank you very much, Catherine Afeku, who is Deputy Spokesperson of the Alan Kyerematen campaign. Thank you very much for joining us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Amoah. On behalf of the team, thank you very much for watching. Coming up is Joy News Prime. Catch you tomorrow on the Super Morning Show. Have a lovely evening.